in the second half, cut it to 11. Here's
all right, let's recap last night's Game 2, Raptors at Sixers, and look ahead to the series returning to the 6th as we welcome in color analyst and courtside reporter for NBA TV Canada and Raptors 905, Akil Augustine, friend of the show. Good morning, Akil.
Morning.
Okay, look, no need to take an apologist tone for the Raptors' performance. They are short some key personnel. But look, you go to war with the soldiers you got, right? So what needs to turn around for them in Game 3?
I mean, a lot of people would say the reffing, right? And that's something that's out of your control. So you control what you can control. I think there were, listening to Jack Armstrong during the broadcast, there were open shots that were missed. But again, fatigue has worn down some of the more senior players on the Raptors. Fred VanVleet coming off the knee. They really need a big performance out of him. And Pascal, really, it boils down to your stars at this point, because what's happened is Joel Embiid, the star of the Philadelphia 76ers, is just imposing his will.
Yeah, he's been a bully out there, and he gets away with it, and it works for him. So, look, from your insider perspective, two-part question. Is Scotty done for the series, and what is ailing Gary Trent Jr.?
The NBA does a really good job of keeping things under wraps. I can't speak intelligently about exactly what, is ailing Gary Trent Jr., but, at times last night, we saw his jaw low, mouth fully agape.
Good observation.
He was having a hard time getting wind inside his lungs, so I imagine something cardiovascular. Don't want to speak out of turn. Okay. But with Scotty, there's a fine balance you have to play here, right? Because Scotty Barnes has proven himself to be the future of the Toronto Raptors as far as I'm concerned. That kid is an all-world talent and the type of person you'd want to build a franchise around. So things don't look super great in this series right now, and you're playing for the long term, so do you risk whatever is happening with Scotty? I know the Raptors medical staff spent time with him this year working on some projects, so I know there's going to be no chance of them putting Scotty in a dangerous position, but you're asking me whether he returns or not, and I think the crux of that is, can this thing be a long-term issue? And if it has any chance, there's no way you see Scotty. But I think Scotty's tough enough that if the Raptors can still win at home, we'll get another Barnes debut in the playoffs.
I think you're right. You mentioned Embiid. Look, he's up there for an MVP candidate. He's my pick.
He's my pick.
Yeah, you know what? You double him all the time. You leave all that extra real estate for the beard. In your estimation, is this series kind of an experiment in the Sixers of a classic 1-5 on the floor versus this so-called positionless Raptors team where, as Thad said, everybody's 6'8"? That's how we succeed?
Well, I think it's been an experiment for the Raptors for a long time, a very successful experiment, right? They doubled down on this project a couple of years ago, and it started, even with the Kawhi team, it was really about length. And it goes back for me as a basketball fan to like the Lakers and Kobe and Gasol and Odom and Ariza. Like that was one of the longest teams I've ever seen, and that's a successful recipe. So definitely it's an experiment in a certain sense, because I think it's been successful in the regular season. But as you see, when the whistle tightens up and you have superstars turning and looking at NBA referees pleading for calls, that changes things. And I think that's, something that the reps are going to have to address, or I don't know how that changes, but I definitely think the superstars get the benefit of the doubt in the playoffs. And having a very balanced team doesn't seem to play into the hands of the refs.
Akil, there's no practice today. Their next avail for the Raptors isn't until tomorrow, Wednesday. Is there anything to read into that?
No, because here's the thing. They may not be practicing, but I guarantee you there's some adjustment being made, whether it's not a film session, whether it's a group chat, whether it's your individual coaches, getting the message from the coaching staff to the guys. But again, you travel, you have a single rest day, you really need to rest up, and it's a physical series. And you look at the health report for the Raptors, there's a litany of injuries that are key. So probably best to keep the guys off their legs, getting as much recuperation and recovery as possible, because you really have to change the tide of this series come Wednesday in Toronto.
Lightning round, you got 5 seconds to answer each of these. Nick Nurse, does he go to coach the LA Lakers next year?
No.
Joel Embiid or the Greek or Joker for MVP?
Really, it's Giannis, but they're going to give it to someone else. So I think they should give it to Embiid.
Last one, Scotty Barnes, Cunningham or Mobley for your Rookie of the Year?
No question, Scotty Barnes.
I like it. Akil Augustine, thanks for your time. We'll talk again next game.
Peace, G.